Hi, it's Peter Hansen again, and we're just continuing our discussion. We had, of course, the big issue, which is the coronavirus, and then the second part was the zeroing on the actions of the mayor of Wuhan, which is the epicenter of this virus. It's a city of 11 million people in central China, so it's basically bigger than Chicago. The other point I want to bring up, having said that, is an area that's going to be a little more sensitive, probably, but from various media and the reaction of various news stories that deal with China and the issues in China and the Chinese people, there are some of us who are outside of the Chinese community who feel that the Chinese can at times be a little oversensitive to criticism. Peter, do you want to weigh in on that?
Oh yes, it always bothers me, or I feel embarrassed when I stay outside China for totally almost nine years also. Yeah, I correct. Chinese people tend to be overly sensitive.
Overly sensitive to criticism,
Yes.
both good and bad.
Yeah.
Both good and bad. Yeah. Would you think that that is a product of the education system in China, or a multitude of products? Education, the history of China, China's isolation for a long time, the Great Wall, for example, going way, way back in the history of China. Does some of this oversensitivity underline some of the painful past that China has had to deal with moving forward?
Yes, like past 170 years history, so-called the most recent history in China. What happened is give Chinese people a huge lesson that a lot of foreigners, they were not friends of China. They either take something precious from the Summer Palace in history, in the Qing dynasty. And also Chinese suffer a lot in the various, we call unfair treaties, the various government through the Qing dynasty to the late nationalist China signed with other countries, even if we were win the Second World War, the Chinese government forced to let Mongolia get independent. Through all this history, the Chinese pretend to think they're kind of like victims, whether they are a winner or the loser.
Yeah, that's
in the various wars.
Yeah, that's an interesting point. Yeah.
So anything happened to them, they automatically try to protect themselves.
Yeah.
They wrap themselves by a shell.
Yeah.
Then, with that being said, they tend to not to listen to others' criticism.
Yeah.
They love those praise.
Yeah.
Well, I don't want to listen to any objective comments on it, which will help them to get improve or become better people. That's why I said this coronavirus, a lot of people's pretty overly sensitive, I think. Yeah, as a friend showed us, which on the Australian newspaper is called a Daily Telegraph. I think it's printed and published in New South Wales. The people, I think, according to the topic of the newsline, is China kids, please stay at home. I think it's quite friendly reminder, right? Because a lot of Chinese parents, they take advantage of this Chinese New Year, the holiday season. They flew over China to Sydney to visit their children, right?
Mm-hmm.
Since China, we all know the outbreak of the coronavirus, people want to protect themselves. Give you friend reminder. China kids, before we know which one is really got infected or not, you stay home, right? I think this is like a pretty natural. People,
It's
sure,
a
people
normal.
are nice to you.
Yeah.
Why in a lot of Chinese people's eyes it's kind of become a racism
Yeah.
or discrimination to your a specific ethnic group.
Yeah.
I totally think it's overreactive,
Yeah.
overly reactive.
I think oversensitive because there may be a tendency for the Chinese to revert back to victimization.
Yeah.
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 And I think we've talked in our prep time, in our preambles to dealing with this topic, is that this virus goes to the heart not only of the problems of governance in China, but goes to the heart of what makes the Chinese people Chinese. It's extremely sensitive, and it goes to the heart of all the sufferings and also the advances that you have made. But what I want to point out is that too much negative feeds on itself. You know, a negative becomes a double negative, becomes a triple negative. You need to sit back, relax, and change your mindset to a more positive outlook and see this virus as a way to maybe recalibrate the narrative, right?
Yes, you must change your mindset. This advice I should share with my fellow countrymen is life is very much like a mirror. You smile upon it, it smiles back up to you.
That's right.
You treat others the way you want others to treat you. So
Exactly.
if you bear in your mind the negative attitude towards other ethnic group people, they will look the same on you.
Yeah.
Right?
And
Because,
if I can just make a point to people who are watching this, who are from the Chinese community, is you have to deal with whatever baggage you have culturally in a way that takes into account the multicultural aspect of Canada. You have to take the bull by the horns, take the initiative, and at some point you have to tell yourself, I am not easy prey, I do have suitable armor, and I can deal with problems that come my way, cultural problems or problems of community, in a way that is open-minded and not predicated on preconceived notions and things of the past. It's time to move forward. It's time to think positively and think outside of the box. We use this terminology a lot in the West, thinking outside of the box.
I can't agree anymore with your comments, and I will invite Peter to talk much further in this particular regard in future.
Right. We have a lot of topics that we can hit on in terms of education, which I think will be helpful for people who are accessing our site, where we have experience on both sides of the fence. Thanks again, Peter, for your time this afternoon.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.